choose to love where the freedom flies from my heart, where the light keeps shining. And I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we can rise above. I choose love.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome, Larry. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Andreas. Good morning.
Good morning. So I thought we're going to spend a few minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes, and just have a conversation about a topic. And one of the topics that are close to my heart now is relationships, and specifically the relationships that we are going through right now, that we're in a time of challenge and crisis. And, you know, we get so bombarded with information now that we are just not sure anymore. What should I do? How do I react? And I think it comes down to redefining the relationship I have with myself and God. Also, how do I relate to others in these times? Yeah. And lastly, you know, the relationship to a corporate entity. So maybe we can just start with oneself. You know, I go through experience that I learn so many new things about myself, because all of a sudden I am locked in, or shall we say, I'm limited in certain things that I can do work-wise and personal things. So and I'm sure you're talking to a lot of people, how does one deal with this new situation on an internal basis, first and foremost?
Well, in my experience over these past, well, I mean, especially leading up to this environment, I mean, the situation around the coronavirus and all that stuff, and the safe distancing and all the different things that people are doing. Over these past few months and few weeks, actually, the videos that I've been led to produce, and you've done such a phenomenal job putting up on there, are speaking to that. And like when you're talking about the relational interactions, you know, and people dealing with all these stresses, and then all of a sudden you're discovering certain things about friends and people that you love dearly, that you're seeing their perspectives that you don't really agree with, or they're stirring something in you that you don't know how to process. And as I've said over the videos of these past few videos, it's important for us to really look at a situation, whether it's the relationship we hold with our spouse, or the relationship we hold with close friends, or the corporate relationship that we have with the company that we work for, and honestly search your heart to see, what is it stirring in me first? Why am I becoming offended? Not by their words, because if you're looking at this from a godly perspective, God knows all that's going to transpire. God has already set in place all things that will bring order and protection to those that are to be protected, birth into new life for those that are to be birthed back into God's presence. There's already a divine solution to everything we are walking into. There is nothing to fear, because we are first spiritual in nature, walking a temporal human existence, then returning into a spiritual form. So there is no need to fear. But as we encounter relational experiences, we start to recognize that somebody's been offended, or somebody's been hurt, or somebody's been wronged, or I may have done something to offend another. So if the person comes to us, we have to shift from this external exposure to internal review. What is it doing inside me? So if my friend comes to me with a threatening or I guess offensive type comment, or they're lashing out at me in some way, what is that doing inside me first? And as you and I just spoke before we even came on, in my humble opinion, the first answer to every one of these questions is prayer. In other words, choosing God presence, not what the situation is. And it's hard to do when we're in the midst of a situation. It's hard to honestly let go of what's presenting in front of us and choose in that moment I'm seeking to become that which is God to observe the situation. It's very challenging in the midst of it to actually let these things unfolding in front of us go out of a place of the dynamic and actually choose God first.
Barry, I need to interrupt you real quick. Just on what you said now, prayer is the first step you mentioned. How about people out there that have never prayed or that have no relationship with God or a spiritual entity, a source? How do they deal with this situation? How can we help them?
Well, the way Yeshua taught us was to simply breathe. A conscious awareness of choosing life within you is as simple as breathe. So when Yeshua was asked, well, how do we pray? And his first response was, this is how you pray. It is surrendering first unto the living breath of that which is God. So even if a person doesn't pray, if they intentionally center themselves upon the living breath that is within them, that there is something that precedes their physical form, that stirs life within them, that there is an origin for their existence. There's different progressive realizations of how much strength you'll gain in this awareness, but in the early stages, if a person is not a prayerful minded person or a person that doesn't even understand the concept of word of prayer, the simple offering of choosing to recognize that the breath within me comes from something greater than myself. And if I can connect with first breathing deep, okay, my friend is freaking out, they're doing this or doing that, or my spouse is terribly upset about something, I breathe. And in that breath, as I observe the situation, I become somebody that can become the living breath within that moment. So I'm not governed by offense for whatever they're communicating, because whatever they're communicating has hurt them. Even if it was me, I need to be present to listen to what I may have done wrong. If it wasn't me, I need to be present to hear what is stirring them emotionally, what is bringing them pain, what is bringing them suffering, and not to become a part of the pain and the suffering, but to remain as the breath, the answer to move out of that pain and suffering. But if I don't breathe, I can easily be drawn into their suffering, their discomfort.
So not to be drawn into their suffering. I think that's probably what's happening worldwide. I mean, just look at when you see media reports and information fired at us about what's going on in the world. If we take that in, so if I understand you correctly, it means it can create trouble within us. We should not partake too much in those things.
And on one of the videos that's in our archives for Grace Healing on gracehealing.org, I was led to speak to that because people don't really understand the difference between what a divine attribute is and what a opposing spiritual attribute is, or a demonic force. And quite frankly, people don't understand that the spirit of sympathy is a demonic force. And a simple way to describe that is to look at it like, again, you and I have shared this before. If you come upon a scene and you see danger unfolding, or like a house on fire, you come to a situation and you're walking down the sidewalk and all of a sudden you look and see, oh my God, that house is on fire. Sympathy will run into the fire, become part of the situation, and get consumed by the fire while trying to save everybody. That's sympathy. Empathy would be the one that would stand there and observe and say, wow, there's a house on fire. Gee, that's horrible. I wonder what's going to happen as it burns. Divine compassion moves you to that place we were just talking about, that living breath that is God's awareness. And from within God awareness, meaning living breath within you, the Abun, you move into a place not of sympathy, but of divine compassion. And then from within compassion, you move to a place of holy wisdom, clarity, peace and understanding, and you think, oh, wait a minute, I have a phone in my pocket. You make a phone call. You call the supporting personnel that will help deal with the situations that are beyond your control, the house burning out of control. Then you'll be moved through wisdom to step closer to the building and assess the situation, and you begin to realize that you see somebody in the building through one of the windows. You're able to break one of the windows, shout to them to drop to the floor, go to their left, and move away from the place of the place of danger. In the midst of the fire, they can't see that if they went through the door to the right, they're going to walk into the greater smoke and infusion or the greater fire. You can see from that divine observing point of view that they're at less risk by moving to their left. And as they move to their left, they start to find a place where they can open the door, and you can say, listen, that door is safe. Go through that door. You can head out through that hallway. That hallway will bring you to another window. Break the window and exit. I'll meet you there. That, I believe, is the breathe first, drawn to God's presence, not consumed in a place of sympathy. And that same concept can be translated to how we observe things that are being offered to us through Facebook friends or news or whatever, is what do I become as I observe this from a divine perspective?
That's a powerful metaphor with that burning house, Larry. Now, you could take this the next step, and you can say, in the current situation that we're in, the world situation with this virus, everybody's wondering, what is the future going to hold? So it's not like the burning house that you can see in front of you, right? We don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. What is it going to be in October or next spring?
Let's continue on with that analogy. We see within our local communities, we see these situations where somebody's home burnt down, and we pray for them because they lost some of their loved ones and their pets or whatever, and praying to God if they didn't lose their family members or something. But we do not get trapped in what is the future going to be, because we know God makes provision. And how does God make provision? Through the Amun, the living manifestation of his spirit, living breath flowing through humanity and flowing through creation. So what's happened in our community, and I'm pretty sure it's pretty much the same in yours, is when somebody's house burns down, there's an immediate response within the body of God. People come forward in compassion, caregivers, support, all kinds of stuff. Fundraisers start happening. GoFundMe page for our friend Mary that just lost her home and lost her family. And, oh my God, and then clothes start showing up, and food starts showing up, and then a place for them to live shows up. And then the insurance company finally gets in gear, and the insurance company takes their time and tries to resist and fight and do all the different things because of the corporate entity. What's happening is the body of God, the living presence of God, is moving through people that don't even know they're being moved through. In that compassionate awareness, being free from sympathy, all of a sudden they become productive in their ability to set up the page for GoFundMe for my friend Mary that lost her home. There's compassionate resolve of communication that's going out to extend love and compassion to them while they process the loss of their beautiful furry beasts or whatever they happen to have in their homes that they love so dearly. So the future is already cared for in the divine awareness. So as we go through this pandemic, this different time where people are showing such stress around it, it is fear of what the outcome is that is governing their reactions. So in my heart, does this stir the same fear within me? Right now I'm seeing it does not. So I do not need to release fear within me. But I also move to a place of compassionate awareness that these people that are conveying these messages, I'm not looking at the animosity that they're conveying. I'm not looking at the hatred that they're conveying. And I'm looking first to Yahweh, free them from the spirit of fear that they embrace. Because the fear is not present within me, so I don't have to get rid of it now. But if I did feel the fear stir within me, my first responsibility is to touch the living breath of God within me and relinquish all fears within me, or I am of no value to that person or the many people I witness going through the stresses they experience. Because I'm joining them in the corporate fear of the whole body of humanity instead of becoming the divine, observing the fears governing the body of humanity.
Very interesting.
So do you see how that moves us from a place from fear into knowing the outcome to knowing that God's already got this? What's my role within the next steps to bring blessing into order?
I was reading this morning, and maybe we can wrap it up with that. And I was reading somewhere, somebody saying, we live in uncertain times. And how do we create certainty in uncertain times? Because we, as human beings, here on earth, we are a creature of habits, right? We
Well,
want to
very
feel certain.
simply, I would say to you right off that that comment is deception. What I see in it through discerning is that spiritual deception. We are in a certain time, not uncertain times.
Mm.
There is no uncertainty within Creator. We embrace this concept of an uncertain time when it is already certain. What's unfolding is already known. The manifestation of everything that's going to come about from this is already understood. If we are not graced with the knowledge of what that outcome is, then we embrace trust in the moment, in this certain time. Not the uncertain awareness, but the certain awareness that God is with me. I choose the breath that lives within me, God's holy presence. Well, today I can't go do the stuff I thought I was going to do. I'm going to sit certain in the knowing of God's presence within me. And I'm going to relinquish all these views that people keep presenting me of an uncertain nature, because I know that as I draw to God's presence within the home, as I do have to go off to shop at the food store, I'm certain that God's presence within me. That's the certain nature. The uncertainty is people that are not embracing that awareness, and they get caught up in the emotion. They get caught up in the fears. They get caught up in the tasks they can't do, instead of embracing the certainty of that moment of that which they can do. Pray, breathe, and center in on Creator.
Awesome. That's great, Larry. I'm convinced. So I hope this message goes out to many people. And, we live in a time of paradigm shift. We are shifting our thinking. We need to embrace prayer more. And I've started doing that. And I'm very thankful what you do, Larry, and what we do at Grace Healing Ministries. And we're going to have more of those conversations going forward, I hope. We'll bring in Aina as well, and the other team members, which will be wonderful. But thank you for the time, Larry. Maybe you have some parting thoughts before we close this discussion.
Yes, we began in prayer before we entered this time in the video, and we can close in prayer and offer thanksgiving to the one name that is Yahweh Elohim. Yeshua, Avami Kalides Mesipiye, Avun Lavachadmenes Mesipiyesh Nukutaraviana. So we choose this day above all days to be the day that we are certain that God is with us. We are certain that the living breath flows through us, and we can choose that living breath to be the beginning point for every thought, every relational interaction, and every corporate experience. May you be blessed and have an amazing week. Know that you are loved, and we are here to support you anytime you wish to reach. Take care and be blessed, and go to gracehealing.org if you need any information.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Larry. Talk to you soon.
Yeah.